Hi and welcome to this 8th chapter of the Nordic Know-How series, with the best practices of sustainable healthcare from the Nordics. The 8th chapter, #8, will be about financing energy and climate smart healthcare. This presentation will be recorded, and let us know if you want to be edited out later on. My name is Daniel Eriksson. I'm the CEO and founder of Nordic Center for Sustainable Healthcare, and we are the ones doing this Nordic Know series together with the Swedish Energy Agency. The program today, we will start with a short presentation about the Nordic Center for Sustainable Healthcare. Then we will get a sneak peek into the report with my colleague Diego and Julina. 2:30, we will get a presentation from the Climate Leap, funding for climate projects from the Swedish Environmental Protection Agency and Olof Billebo. At 14:45, we will get examples on how to fund energy projects with Jonas, Höglund and Mikael Fjällström from the Swedish Energy Agency. At 3 o'clock, Williamsson will do a presentation about funding energy projects in hospitals from a regional level here in Sweden from Region Skåne. And then 15, we'll listen to David Williamsson from EBRD, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. And last but not least, Karin from Belok will present the total concept method. And after that, hopefully, we'll have some discussions together. Some of the front things, as I mentioned, this will be recorded. So let us know if you want to be edited out later, and it will be published on YouTube and our webpage. The report is already launched, and if you want to download it, you can find it at the Nordic Center's webpage, and you have the address here. And if you have any questions, please write them in the chat. And we will hopefully, if we have time in the end, have some discussions with some of the speakers that can stay to the end. And if you want our newsletters or any info, sign up on our web or follow on LinkedIn. What is Nordic Center for Sustainable Healthcare, and what do we do for those of you who don't know? The base of what we want to do is to raise awareness of sustainable healthcare in different settings. We want to boost innovation and investment in sustainable healthcare. We want to bring world-class solution ideas to the Nordics, and we want to deliver Nordic solutions and knowledge to the world. We see sustainable healthcare as something horizontal that goes over many of these old silos, as you can see here. It's not clean tech or med tech or construction. It's all of that at the same time, but only when you provide green or sustainable solutions in different ways. We see sustainable healthcare as a new industry, new research field, and a new innovation area that is horizontal over these old silos. And in many cases, we see member companies and other organizations, they are have more in common across these old silos than they have with organizations within their same silo. So we believe that this is the future, working a little bit more horizontal. We now have around 130 members, plus 130 members from 18, 19 countries around the world, spanning from regions and hospitals to companies to state agencies to different clusters and NGOs. And that is also our idea to gather all these under the same roof, so to say, under the same umbrella, to create innovation and collaboration. We do several projects every year in different categories, and here are just a few examples spanning from guidelines in sustainability for life science companies to collaborations with India to work on different aspects of sustainable development goals and the relationship to sustainable healthcare in different ways. You can also find all these reports and many, many more on our webpage if you're interested. Today, we're here to discuss number 8 of the Nordic Know-How series, financing energy and climate smart healthcare. And as it's number 8, of course, we have 7 before that, spanning from nitric oxide destruction to geothermal energy to lighting and ventilation and so on. The idea behind this series is to take the Nordic knowledge that exists and put it on an international arena, basically put it in English writing so people can find it, understand it, and use this best practice that exists. Another thing I want to present before we move on is the world's greenest hospital.org. It's a project we started a couple of years back, and the idea is to fill this with solutions that already exist on the Nordic market. They are installed in some hospitals in the Nordics somewhere. So this is a hospital being the greenest one in the world with solutions that exist today. And in many settings, we're discussing the future and innovations that are supposed to come and so on. We want to showcase that this is actually happening right now. There is solutions you can install tomorrow, basically, that is on the market that has been a proven track record and installed for many years here in the Nordics. So please have a look at the world's greenest hospital.org and the solutions there if you have the opportunity. Some highlights from our calendar. If you are near Malmö next week, you're most welcome to our spring party that we'll have May 4th here in the office. And if you are close to southern Poland, May 9 to 8, you're welcome to the second international conference for hospital directors and management looking at implementing innovations in healthcare facilities in Krakow. June 14. We will have a UK-Sweden collaboration on energy and climate smart healthcare in London at the Swedish Embassy. Maybe also some study visits on the 15th. If you are interested to learn more about this topic and want an introduction in sustainable healthcare, June 19, we have an introductory training in sustainable healthcare online or here in Malmö. And last but not least, after a few years of a pandemic, we're once again doing the Nordic Conference on Sustainable Healthcare. We have done it twice in Stockholm, once in Helsinki, once in Copenhagen, and then there was a pandemic, and now we're doing the 5th Nordic Conference on Sustainable Healthcare here in Malmö, and we hope to get a broad international audience, and we already have sponsors and exhibitors and participation from many countries, actually many continents, so it's not only a European matter. So if you have the opportunity, please look into the 5th Nordic Conference, October 11th here in Malmö, Sweden. If you want to have contact with me, here's my contact information, and with that, we will move on to the first speaker of today. It will be my colleague Diego Angelino from Nordic Center for Sustainable Healthcare that will give us a little sneak peek into the report and some of the conclusions from the report. Please, Diego.
Thank you very much, Daniel, for your kind introduction into our activities and the subject. I will share my screen. So just wait a little. Now it's working. So hi, everyone. My name is Diego Angelino, and on behalf of the Nordic Center for Sustainable Healthcare, I would like to express our enthusiasm for being here today. We are presenting a new edition of the Nordic Know-How series, this time the 8th, on financing, energy, and climate smart healthcare. So thank you very much for being here. And well, just to remember, and as Daniel says, to the serious followers of the Nordic Know-How series, and as information for those who are joining us for the first time, the Nordic Know-How series is part of the platform for internationalization on energy and climate smart healthcare, supported by the Swedish Energy Agency, which have among the objectives to increase the knowledge transfer and dissemination of information for the transformation towards sustainable healthcare, specifically on energy efficient and climate smart healthcare systems. The idea of the Nordic Know-How series is to make more accessible the knowledge of the most pressing challenges on the sustainable healthcare agenda. If we can try to simplify what is the formula of the Nordic Know-How series, we can say that we have the real-life cases, plus the testimonials, the experiences, the practices of the people who are at the forefront of these challenges, plus the special collaborations depending on the subject that we are working on, plus the desk research about the state of the art, the main concepts to try to simplify to the most wider audience, plus this webinar, the presentation that is part of the knowledge sharing, because now you have the opportunity to know more about the experience, some of the cases of some of the people who participate in the studio. All of this multiply by the outreach of the Nordic Center for Sustainable Healthcare. As Daniel already mentioned, more than 130 members in 18 countries. So everything together to facilitate to you, to inspire you in your own path on sustainable healthcare. And as you can imagine, if you see the other topics, some of the questions that always are present in these events are related with finance. The question is coming once and again is who pays for it? How do I can get the best of the resources that I have? What are the possibilities to get like a financial support to develop like a district heating system, to improve my ventilation systems? So this is what we try to address in this new number. And these questions, I mean, it's not like a coincidence. I think that we think and we realize that we are living in a kind of pressing times for the sustainable healthcare as a topic. On one hand, we see like an increasing commitment of the international system towards not only the linkages between the climate and health, but even more about the possibilities to transform the healthcare into climate smart, net zero healthcare systems. Just if you remember 2 years ago in Glasgow, it was created this alliance for transformative action on climate and health, who have the special focus on financing healthcare systems. So the commitment is there. At the same time, we can see like some concerns within the ecosystem. For example, in this report from the Lancet, that is just from the last year, we learned that less than 1/3 of the funds allocated to the economic recovery for COVID, it was likely to reduce the greenhouse gases emissions. In this study, they make like a big survey among a lot of cities. Around 798 cities participate in this study, and almost 30% of the cities like reported that they saw to reduce the financing available for climate action. And even more, if you think like in low and middle income countries, we have that an estimated of almost 60% of the healthcare facilities do not have access to reliable electricity. So if you can see, we have a bigger commitment and a stronger commitment towards this topic, and at the same time, the challenge of how to get the best use of the resources. So what we try to answer in this report was that, what is the best way to address this challenge? And of course, we try to answer this from the point of view of our members and partners, hospitals, universities, companies, and so on. So we start this report to making a screening of what is available. What are the main institutions and organizations such as the World Health Organization, the World Bank, the European Union Commission are saying about this? And you can find that in our section context. And I don't want to be a spoiler, but as you can imagine, the sector is under a lot of pressure. It's not just the context after the pandemic. It's not just the geopolitical and economic context. It's also driving forces such as digitalization that are like pressing and demanding a sustainable transformation within the sector. So taking that in consideration in the context, in the next parts of the study, we try to systematize what is available in terms of financing. We use the example of Sweden. We use Sweden as a demonstrator. We try to systematize, to simplify what is available in the Swedish system. After this research, we of course include the opinion, and we try to interview some of the people who are in the forefront of the challenge. And I want to use this opportunity to thank you very much, all of you who participate in the study. I think that the robustness of this document is also thanks to you who share with us your time and expertise in this topic. And within the report, you will find that we systematize in 3 categories the topic. The first one was financing in-house. The second, financing through collaboration. And the third one, financing through external means. Along the rest of the report, we develop each of these parts in the different sections. We try to identify what are the main variables, the main characteristics, the main models that exist today that are in place. We try to link it with practical experiences that are ongoing in hospitals in Sweden, and we create this flowchart to help you, to inspire you, and to find out options, courses of action on how to solve your challenges regarding financing. In the document, you will find this chart, the backup information, but please remember, the Nordic Know-How gives you clues, shared experience, and provide you with inspiration. The required transformations are made by you, of course, in collaboration with the rest of actors of the ecosystem, and we in the Nordic Center for Sustainable Healthcare, we will be happy to be part of accompany this process. So, in conclusion, there is a diversity of options and possibilities when we ask about the potential courses of action for financing. The most important, I think, finding in this report is not to limit ourselves to one single vision and be aware about the contextual and the systemic dynamics regarding the sustainable healthcare environment. Of course, please contact us, go to our webpage, download the report, download the previous reports, and make your own library of potential solutions and topics related to sustainable healthcare. And thank you again. This was just a brief description. I didn't want to spoil the content of the document in detail. And now I would like to give back the word to Daniel in our main studio here in Malmo. So he will continue with the program in this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Diego. And as Diego mentioned, this is a question we often get when we traveling with members and companies and networks and delegations within sustainable healthcare. Yeah, that is very easy to do, and in Sweden you can do it, and there is you are looking for that specific funding that funds energy and climate smart healthcare or sustainable healthcare. And what this report shows is that's not one solution. There's a whole ecosystem of different financing solutions spanning from very local and very regional to international or domestic banks and financial institutions and so on. And we will listen to some of those today. The next speaker is one of those organizations or agencies that is working with financing and different aspects of energy and climate smart healthcare. And it's the Swedish Environmental Protection Agency, and I welcome Olof Billebo. Welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
And you can see me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you for having me. Olof Billebo, Swedish Environmental Protection Agency, Swedish EPA. Great to be here. I will try to share my screen. Let's see if it works. Okay, do you see my screen now? Any?
Yes, we do.
Oh, great. Thank you. All right. Thank you again. And just to give you a glimpse of this jungle ecosystem of supports, grant system that exists. The Climate Leap is one of those national grant in Sweden. We are some 40 case officers working with the Climate Leap, some in Stockholm. I'm based in Östersund. So I'll give you just a brief overview of what the Climate Leap is, how it works. And as you have already mentioned, I think it's also quite horizontal. You can get grants from the Climate Leap from a big variety of different measures. So to start with, the Climate Leap was launched in 2015, and it's supposed to be running until 2026, according to the current budgets laid out by the Swedish government. And it was launched to give state aid to companies, municipalities, regions, or any organizations. They could have support. Any organization except for private persons are entitled to receive this grant. And for the coming years until 2026, we are planning to invest 8.4 billion SEK, so around 800 million euros. And most of that money, since recent years, actually come from EU, part of this RRF, Resilience and Recovery Fund. And the main purpose is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, of course, but we can also take into account if it introduces new innovative technologies, for example, or if it has other positive side effects in a broader sense of the sustainability scope. The most important aspect is that we cannot give grants to projects or investments that are profitable. So we should kind of help market failures in different ways. So just to give you an overview what we have supported in the past and what our common grants go to. So the most common investments are actually charging stations for either public chargers or non-public chargers. And the Climate Leap funding is divided into two separate support systems. One is the Climate Leap for public chargers, and the other one is Ladda bilen, charge your car, which is mostly for kind of housing charging non-public chargers. And second up is exchanging any kind of fossil fuels to biofuels. That's very common in all sectors. It could be anything from the agriculture or industry or even hospitals. You should get rid of oil and gas. Agriculture is, of course, an interesting sector. There you can have electrification or energy efficiency in investments. The transport sector, of course, we have given a lot of grants to produce biogas and also to have these more circular economy investments. Plastic recycling, for example, is very big. We also have energy efficiency measures, but those are normally quite difficult to get support from the Climate Leap. It's broad in that sense that you can have support for different measures, but if you should stop using electricity, that is usually considered as almost fossil-free, at least in Scandinavia. So those investments are usually more expensive in relation to the greenhouse gas emissions that they actually reduce. So the Climate Leap is a good investment or a good grant system for many measures, but energy efficiency is usually quite difficult. And bike infrastructure, we have more examples, but I can show you one that is probably more interesting for the healthcare industry, hospitals and so on. So we have until now supported 15 investments to remove N2O, and that can be in for example dental clinics or in hospitals, and that's actually still a good potential and a low-hanging fruit for many clinics to make these kinds of investments. As Daniel mentioned, this is already known in some sense, but still many remain, and they are usually quite easy to have support in those investments. And just to give you some results, what have we done until now? So we have received almost 12,000 applications, and we have approved a bit more than half of those measures. And all in all, until now, 13.5 billion SEK in grants, and that accounts for a bit less than half of the total investment made. And the vast majority of the support goes to companies, not in the public sector. That can also be interesting to have in mind. And in total, it should reduce emissions by 2.6 million tons of CO2 annually. And these investments, on average, last over 16 years. And if you remember the slide I showed you before, what kind of investments are most common, you can see that waste or circular economy investments are not big in numbers, but the waste category is the biggest in terms of greenhouse gas reductions, and that's because they are quite big investments, big in terms of money and in reduced emissions. And then, of course, transport and introducing new fuels to exchange fossil fuels in different sectors. So how much investment support can you be granted? We, as most governments, we follow EU regulations, state aid rules, and the most common is the general block exemption regulation. So that gives you guidelines of what is allowed according to EU standards and how much support you can have. And the upper limit is 70%, but most investments get a bit less than half of the amount. And public actors, they can have a maximum of 50% support. This is my final slide. So if you want to apply and how, we don't know yet, but we plan for another period this fall in September, probably. It's a bit complicated at the moment since the Swedish government's current budgets, it has a lot of money that we can offer for 2024. But in 2025 and 2026, as it looks now, it's not that optimistic. It will decrease. So we can probably hand out some money for investments, but they have to be finalized at the latest mid-June 2024. So it's a bit of a challenge. But you can have a look at on our website for coming application periods. And best climate utility wins. The climate leap is to be considered as a kind of a competition. We compare how much greenhouse gases you can reduce and how much it costs and how long the investment will last. So that gives us a quota, and those investments with the highest quota can have grants. Yes, so questions?
Thank you very much. I will start up with one question. How do you engage international nowadays? Is there any similarities between this funding possibilities in other European countries? Does it look the same, or is it different, or do you know?
Yeah. Not in detail. We know that a lot of countries have similar plans for this COVID plans, it's the same money. So some of those investments, or it's decided that 30% of those RRF funds should go to sustainability investments. So we know that some countries have chosen kind of similar investment strategies, and others have very different. But I don't know in detail how it looks in separate countries.
Do you know any of the countries that have similar funding as we have at Klimatklivet?
I think Finland at least has some similar approach, but no, sorry. And we were quite national in our approach.
Yeah, I understand it. Any other questions? And if you're scared to ask, we will edit out those who want to from the online version that we will publish later on. So if you want to ask a question and remain anonymous, you can be that. If not, we are saying thank you very much to Olof, Billebo, and this Klimatklivet has been a huge contributor to climate work in Sweden, as you can see from the number and graphs from Olof. Thank you very much, and I'm sure if anyone has any questions, they can email you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. We're moving on to the next agency, working with energy and climate, smart investments and projects in hospitals, and it's the Swedish Energy Agency, and we will listen to first Mikael Fjällström and then Jonas Höglund. Welcome.
Thank you, Daniel. Do you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, great.
I see you.
Great. Can you see my slide?
No.
It's, as usual, it's going to be some do like this. No, you can't see it now.
No, share screen. You have to press share screen and then choose the.
Yeah. I do like this. Can you see it now?
No, we can't.
Oh, sorry. I have to share the screen. Yes, of course. Like this. Yes. And now I get some. Can it be this one? No.
In the middle of the bottom of the screen, you have press share screen, and then you have to have the PowerPoint open. So you need to be open.
I can't find a presentation. Why not? Maybe no. I can only see my. Over there. Yes. Now I find it. Now.
Yes. Perfect.
Now you can see it.
Yeah, we can. Thank you.
And now you can see it as well. No.
Looks perfectly fine.
Okay. You can see it now in.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. First, thank you. First, I'm going to present a little bit about the Swedish Energy Agency, and after that, I'm going to present some of the finance activity that we have done or do actually right now, and after that, I'm going to give you some example of financing. So, the Swedish Energy Agency is the national authority for energy policies and issues. We sort under the Ministry of Climate and Enterprise. Then we have a Director General that is appointed by the government. And we are totally government funded. And we are around 500 employees. And what our vision is that the Swedish Energy Agency is leading the energy transition into a modern and sustainable fossil-free welfare society. And that means that we are going to put energy issues on the agenda locally and globally and regionally. And those days there's no problem to put energy on the agenda because it is everywhere on the agenda. So that's easy for us right now. So that's we're lucky now, but it depends how we see things. Yes, we are working to fulfill the political energy agenda for the government, and we're also supporting in a different way. One thing that we do is that we give out financial support to R&D in Sweden. So we're steering all the R&D in the energy sector on the universities. We're also experts, and we provide the public with information, and we do some research, and we do some statistics, and we do also have some forecast of the energy, for example, on the use of electricity. That has been on the agenda on the TV for many times right now. And when it comes to what we do in financing, then we're working with basic research, very early research, just for knowledge in the university. And also we have applied research programs for new technologies, for example, that we hopefully can get out on the market later on. And when it comes to what we do for SMEs and startups, we have a program for concept development. And in that program, we use the de minimis, so you can get 100% financing from us to just investigate your innovation and see if it's going to fly or not. And that is not only technology, it could be the business model or other things as well. And if you got a customer, we have the program for customer verification. And that's just to see just to come near the customer to see if the customer needs and so on. And that could provide you with information for your new in your further on innovation of the product. And then we have a pilot and demo program, and that program it's a program that often where the innovators work together with big companies, and it's you can get to, around 7 million, more than 7 million crowns for that. And then we have the different promotion programs, for example, export programs that Jonas is going to talk a little bit about later on. And then we have some work to get investment to Sweden. And we also provide the incubators and science park with money to work with energy companies. And what are we looking at when we are looking at energy technology and when we evaluate different applications? Energy is the most important things that we look at. It has to be energy relevant. And of course, when it comes to startups, the business potential is very important. It must be clear that there is a need from the customer, and the innovation has to be new, with some exemptions, because it could be an old innovation with a new business model, and then we can support the investigation of the new business model. And also how close are the innovation to the market? If there is a long way to the market, it's very important. It might be important to go back to an R&D phase. It's not so good to bring in investors in innovation that is very far from the market. The team is very important, and also we go quite deep into the project. What are you going to do with the money? That's important. Some other things that we have working on very long time is to create networks. So we are financing networks to, for example, do joint technology procurement to get the faster development of new product, to get the new product out on the market much quicker. And we started up that work 22, 23 years ago, and the network has developed. So now the network also worked with test and demonstration and evaluate new solutions and create knowledge and spread knowledge to others. So network is a very important tool for us. When it comes to buildings, we have 3 networks. Belok, that is the oldest network and that Belok is for non-residential building, and Billebo is for multifamily buildings, and Lågan is for the building companies. And if we're looking into Belok, for example, Belok has just created a network for energy efficient healthcare facilities. So they noticed that there was a need for cooperation between all of the regions that have a lot of buildings, and also it was involved in Belok. So they're starting up the energy efficient healthcare facilities, Belok, and the idea was to exchange experience and provide contacts with the field of energy efficiency and create improved skills in the different organizations, and also have discussions about practical problems and highlighting practical problems, and try to figure out joint solutions between the different members. Another example is that we have an RN that is important, of just related to the hospital, is that we did an R&D project together with Lund University, looking into Avide Care's ventilation system, and we can see that it's 30% more energy efficient to use Avide Care, and we can also see that the bacterial contents in the air was much lower than in other technologies. We have done a lot of pre-feasibility studies, and that's a very, very important tool, and it was very lucky, that program. And we did it in the framework of Smart City Sweden. And the method was that we identify the problem on the market, and we find the right experts, and examine the technical and financial possibilities of implementing the project. And of course, we investigate the interest of Swedish companies to participate in the project. And that tool could be used even in hospital and sustainable healthcare. Yeah, thank you. And now over to Jonas.
Thank you, Mikael. I will try to share my screen. Me too. Now you should be able to see my screen.
No, we're not.
Not now?
No, press share screen and then choose the open.
Sorry. I think I do like this. I have 2 screens. I think it's because of that. How about now?
Yes, perfect.
Yes, perfect. Yes, I'm a colleague with Mikael, and I'm working with business promotion at the Swedish Energy Agency. And I would like to give you an overview of more practical terms, why we are funding, what we're funding, and in what ways we're working with sustainable healthcare. So what are the drivers behind our funding within this area? The bottom line here is that we have, in Sweden, we have a pool of companies, we have knowledge, and we have innovations, a critical mass, so to speak, that we can, so we have the potential to showcase this also in other markets that can be beneficial also to other markets. So for this, for sustainable healthcare, the main goal is we want to create long-term strategic collaborations. That's the overarching goal here. So we want to connect Swedish companies with the right key players on the target market. We want to make them able to meet, discuss, and share, and also receive, of course, knowledge and innovations, and thereby creating, setting the scene for future business. So that's how we are working, and we are though enabling the energy transition beyond Sweden. So our bottom line here is to create value for Swedish companies and to increase the GDP. And Sweden is, in terms of emissions, we are responsible for one parts per 1,000th part of the world's total emissions. But we have the potential to reduce through our innovations also beyond Sweden, thereby the internationalization part here. So our toolbox, how do we work with internationalization in this theme, sustainable healthcare? We want to create opportunities for collaboration. That's the first step, and what we do in all our support activities. And we do this through delegations. We have accelerators in different markets where where a company will join, apply for the accelerator, and thereby be able to follow on delegations, matchmaking, or other kinds of activities on the market, usually on for a 2 or 3 year period. We have policy dialogue, market development, and mapping. That's usually for more emerging markets. We have matchmaking activities, and we create arenas for collaboration. And by doing this, or when we do this, we have to work with expert organizations that have the expertise and that has the networks and know-how. There we have TEM in this case, which we can help them reach out and thereby support in a Swedish context our companies. So we have Swedish Energy Agency have activities in 18 countries, and you just have to watch the green circles here. So within this platform, Sustainable Healthcare, we have been working with Poland, Italy, and UK, partly. The 2 past years, mainly Poland and Italy. And the reason for that is because Poland is a high potential market for this kind of solutions. There's a lot of transitions that has to happen for them to reach to reduce their emissions. It's high potential there. And also Italy. And the incentive in Italy is mainly the recovery package from the COVID pandemic, which in part will be directed towards sustainable healthcare. And as Daniel mentioned, we have a planned event in the UK in June. So there's an example of a delegation. We take Swedish companies and we make them meet and join and discuss with the right networks and the key players on the UK market. So that's kind of a glimpse of how we work with the business promotion on the Swedish Energy Agency. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Jonas. And I can add a little to it. And one of the days we're working with this and the Nordic Center in collaboration with the Energy Agency is that Sweden, the Nordics, and maybe also the Netherlands are the front runners when it comes to this. And when we compare the energy consumption per square meter in a Swedish hospital compared to most countries in the world, we are very, very low, and also have a very clean energy production, so supplying those kilowatt hours. So many places in the world, many hospitals, regions, and countries can actually take quite a lot of shortcuts when it comes to energy and climate smart solutions. Anyone has a question for the Energy Agency? No? Then we say thank you very much, and we move the camera into our other room in here where we have one of the guest speakers here at place, Marcus Jeppsson from Region Skåne, that will tell us a little bit how they work with internal funding when it comes to energy and climate projects at a regional hospital. Welcome, Marcus.
Thank you. See if I can get everything to work. And in advance, I would like to apologize for my bad English. Try to share my.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, there. Let's see. Yes, I hope you can. It's live. Marcus Jeppsson is my name. I work at Region Skåne at Regionfastighet och fastighetsdrift. Let's see. Yeah. I'm here to talk about how we work to internal funding of energy projects and the organization around that. Then I hope I can get the information to you. First of all, the buildings I am operating in or within is hospitals and mostly hospitals. And it's very important that we have well operational, reliable buildings and that we optimize the resources we have. Because if something happens, God forbid, we need to have working buildings anyways. So it's like a ship, but it's on land. And regards to energy, we need to have the most efficiencies operation on our installations in our buildings. In Region Skåne, just how we internal fundings, we have completed the last 8 years projects related to energy of the cost of 220 million Swedish krona. And this year, or 2022, we already overlaps the savings over the investment we are doing every year. So Region Skåne has 40 million svenska krona investment always, every year. And of the projects, the 200, all of the projects, we have return of investment for 5 years. So it's very good. Right? Coming back to that. Then you have the Swedish words in this. It's what type of project it has been invested in, and warmth and ventilation is the bigger part. And if we look forward, it probably electricity it will be more focused on, and we already is doing that too. All of the lights with the T8 and T5 I forgot the word. So very, very much projects in electricity. How to make it possible? Of our 40 million svenska krona a year, and addition to that, we have 5 Swedish krona per meter to dedicated to minor projects. And you may ask why? Because all of the bigger projects in the bigger pot makes longer waiting time, and it's bigger projects. Maybe it's not the maintenance people in the building who are they're not involved so much. So we need to breed commitment to make and work with energy solutions with our own people in house. And therefore we have 5 Swedish krona per meter 2 dedicated to minor projects, and we have a technical advisor at site who can decide, okay, this is a good project, let's do it. So in that way we make more people work and understand and make the hospital in total saving more energy. If we look at the 40 million pot, we have how it's done and how we do it. So we have the pot is 40 million, and the proposal can be a technician at the hospital at Kristianstad have an idea. We need to maybe install a new ventilation because the old one doesn't have good energy savings, and they need to do, okay, what's the investment, what's the saving in energy, and what's the return of investment. And like I said before, just electricity makes it's much easier to have a good return of investments, and we have a very, very large lightning change to do. So that's one. We need fundings. We also need cooperation. It's not one guy, one woman who makes the energy savings succeed, because we need everyone in and at our hospitals to work together to find the best return of investments, so we can get more money back and use that for care. But that's our main goal. Is to have enough and a good care for all the people in Region Skåne. If we get everyone on that trip, we will succeed, like we have. Like I said, 40 million a year. Already now we have 46 million kilowatt hours savings a year. So very much money over to invest in other things. Because we not forget, there are different types of investments. The economic investments, of course, we need those, but we also need competence, because all of the installations at our hospitals, at our buildings, need to be top notch. If we have best knowledge of how they work and the times they are on and off, in addition due to that we have the care is maybe just day care or 24/7, then the ventilation needs to be at the same time. We also need to have good knowledge of, okay, everything within this ventilation installation is working like it should. So we maximize the energy payback every day. So competence is one big, I would say, if we would invest 40 million a year, like we're doing like right now, if we didn't cooperate that with the competence in the technicians, we wouldn't be as far as we are today. Organization, you need to have right people on the right place for just how can we make this happen? How can we inspire not only our technicians, but also everyone else who is working or in our hospitals? Because if we have installation of new light, new installation, but the people working within the building is not using it right, then we're not going to save any kilowatts whatsoever. We have also organization and knowledge. Just one example also that we have at the summer, Sweden, often not so warm, but anyways, 2018, very, very warm. And that thing, just to know that we are cooling the ventilation down to 14 degrees and try to keep the building cool, and the people working in the different apartments, wide open windows and wide open doors, and in like 5 minutes you have 28 degrees inside. So that's just knowledge too. It doesn't matter how much we try to lower the temperature, we will not succeed if we don't have the understanding of how do we save energy and how do the installation in the building works. So that's much for me, short, but anyways. So the important thing is that you have to understand and have the economical thinking. You need to have the organization within also to addition to the economics, so you can have do the right thing to the right time. And I also think that you need to understand that the investment, you must think very, very long ahead and see that if we invest now, we can get money back later and use it for more investments or other things that are more prior to our agenda.
Thank you very much, Marcus. Anyone have any questions, just write it in the chat. For us, and maybe for you, this sounds very, how do we say, obvious that we should work with local investment budgets at hospitals. But we have seen in many places in the world and also in Europe that hospitals don't have an investment budget on their own. So all investments are, grants, or you apply for money from a region and the state somewhere in the organization, and you don't use the hospital's own funding to make these investments. What would be your advice on how to start doing this when you're not working with local investment budgets at all? How do you start?
Exactly. Because I believe it's a dialogue that's needed, because my expertise is buildings. I know how to do it. I know my next step. I know what my co-workers need to do. But if we look at the other side, I don't know anything about operating at people like they do in my hospital. So it's my duty to have a dialogue with the care apartments to what can we do, how can we invest, and also the politicians need to understand. Okay, we need lots of money, with 40 million is, but if I can have a good dialogue and explain, okay, you are going to get payback for all the money you will give to me, I almost said, but all the investments they're doing, it is possible to get a payback right kind of shortly, and that will free money for other things you need to buy or remodel hospitals. Like in Region Skåne, we have 4 big 1 million projects at the hospitals. So it's very, very, very important to have a good dialogue with people who can decide or fund this type of investments. And also you have got to have a good dialogue with entrepreneurs also, to have good ideas. What's working on other sites? What best energy programs or what energy replacements is the best return of investment? It's a good dialogue. Shortly.
Thank you very much. And of course, Jesper and Marcus, Jeppsson and his colleagues are one of the reasons Sweden has this low energy consumption at the hospital. So thank you for your good efforts, and I hope that we can internationalize that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is from the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, a part or a subsidiary to the European Investment Bank, and has also been involved in some of the Swedish projects, I think at least EIB. Welcome, David Williamsson, and I will let you introduce yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel, and thank you very much for the invitation. I get the feeling I'm probably the only non-Nordic that's attending here today, so it's a great pleasure for me to be here. Just a little introduction prior to us going through to my presentation, which I'm desperately trying to share the screen for at the moment. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Excellent. And hopefully that has gone to full screen. I want to do a couple of things today. First of all, a general introduction to our institution, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, because I don't think many of you will have heard of us. And then following on from that, some ideas on what we view as sustainable investment. And in particular, what sort of financial products are available for the healthcare sector. So firstly, a little brief introduction to EBRD. EBRD is an international institution. It was founded in 1991 to address some of the economic challenges in Central and Eastern Europe and Central Asia following the fall of the Berlin Wall. We've expanded our operation across into various countries in North Africa and further into Asia. The Nordic countries are not countries of operation for us, but the Nordic clients who are active in our countries of operation are certainly, we have quite a wide client base there. We try and promote inward investment into our countries of operation, but we also provide a lot of support to companies from our member states, and all of the Nordic countries are our member states, and we support them in their activities in our countries of operation. So how do we look at green? Well, the actual agreement establishing the bank, which is an international treaty, states that we will promote in a full range of our activities environmentally sound and sustainable development. And that's quite a high bar. And as you would expect, from 1991 to now, it's meant kind of different things to different people. But currently, the way we look at it is that we have this commitment to an alignment with Sustainable Development Goals and other international treaties. We look very much to promote what we call the green economy transition. Rather nicely, being a public sector bank, we're not solely judged on profit. We're judged on what we call transition. So, obviously, the green economic transition is the greening of the economies within the countries that we operate in. Something that we're a leader on is looking at a financial portfolio and looking to align that with the goals of the Paris Agreement. I think a couple of the speakers previously have mentioned, for example, the COP in Glasgow and some of the IPPC work. We have put in methodologies in place such that we can assess individual investments and also portfolios of investments and see how those aligns with the goals of the Paris Agreement. And really kind of combining all that, the Sustainable Development Goals, the green economy transition, looking to be Paris aligned, it's pretty clear that in ESG, environmental, social and governance performance of all our investments is absolutely key in that. So we look to embed those concepts in all of our investments and also support our clients in their ESG journey. Historically, in the health sector, we were very light in terms of what we had in the portfolio, and a lot of that is related to the fact that it would have been a challenge for us to invest in the private sector health. But we're now looking very much in quite a number of countries. Turkey, for example, we're investing in the public sector with international partners, such as many of you that will be attending here in their efforts in investing in Turkey. So, the health and well-being sector now are really one of the key and one of the growing parts of the portfolio that we look at across our countries of operation. In practice, what do we do in terms of ESG? Well, as a public sector organisation, and I'm sure many of you have that background as well, you will not be surprised to hear that we have a policy. Our policy is 97 pages long and covers a whole raft of different types of environmental and social factors, not just looking at, for example, resource efficiency and energy efficiency, but we're also looking at land acquisition, cultural heritage, employment conditions. So, our definition of what ESG is applied to is pretty broad. We're looking to maximize the benefits of a project. We think historically, environmental and social issues were looked upon as what used to be called safeguarding. So that from an investment point of view, you were looking to protect your investment from bad stuff. I think the message now, and you will see this not just from institutions like ourselves, but also in the commercial sector, that we're looking positive side and looking to maximize the positive impact that we have. There are various aspects of what we do that may be a little bit different than you'll see from commercial banking. We have a very thorough due diligence. We focus on public disclosure so that information on the project and also the project performance is put out into the public sector. We actually put conditions into our loan agreements, so that the clients that work with us, just as we require them to give us the money back, we also require them to perform to a certain level when it comes around to ESG matters. And that, frankly, from time to time can be a bit of a surprise to certain clients who are much more used to a kind of commercially orientated institution, who are focusing on the commercial terms and not some of the non-financial risk, as it used to be called, associated with ESG. And we also monitor. Again, that can come as a bit of a surprise. We like to be actively involved with the implementation of the projects. Just before we move on to what the financial sector is looking at the moment, it's probably worthwhile having just a quick minute or so on the different ways that an institution such as us can get involved in the health sector. We started off life as a project finance institution. So we were there to finance large projects, such as, if we were there at that time, it would have been the construction of the hospital. We still do that. We still do quite a lot of work in that space, but maybe more and more we're also looking at working and financing with companies that are involved in the sector. So ventilation manufacturers, heating distribution companies, building supplies companies, all of the suppliers to that project we work with as well. So, you know, the types of scales of projects that we have, you know, we go from anything from investments at the few hundreds of thousands to low number of millions, all the way up to projects that are in the several hundreds of millions of euros worth of total volume. So, you know, there's a very, very wide range of the types of involvements that we have in there. Moving on then. Investing in building and construction, what is green? There's quite a remarkable number which comes out from the academic sphere. I think this is maybe 3 or 4 years old, this number, but it'll still be relevant, still be approximate. But the built sector, and by the built sector, for us, that means anything that involves actual construction of buildings, but also the buildings themselves and their operational lifespan. It's responsible for up to 1/3 of total global emissions. I think quite often when people try and focus on greenhouse gas emissions and controlling those, you know, they maybe focus on some of the more obvious heavy polluters, power generation, for example, oil and gas. But if you actually take a look at what the numbers mean, the built sector is responsible for 1/3 of total global emissions. And obviously that includes kind of scope 2, scope 3 emissions related to some of the power generation and other factors, but that's a considerable number. And as the world looks to deliver on the promises of the Paris Accord, the build sector has a huge role to play in that. It cannot be ignored. And certainly some of the focus that we have, the built sector is a primary source of our interest and a primary source of where we see being able to drive these global reductions in emissions to get us back towards a 1.5 degree trajectory. I've been around in this sector now for more than 20 years, unfortunately. But certainly over the last few years, we've seen a real sea change in the way that this issue is dealt with at the financial level. You know, for most of that 20 years, it was just what we call CSOs, what used to be called NGOs, non-governmental organizations. They're now civil society organizations, and various other stakeholders that were really kind of pushing the agenda. I would say now the leaders in that agenda are actually the legislators and the regulators, and a little bit behind, but catching up, the investors themselves. The European Union is a key source of information and regulation when it comes to this activity. The EU taxonomy it covers all sorts of industrial sectors and is basically very, very quickly being globally recognized as a Bible of green. New regulations coming through on requirements at the corporate level to disclose information and share information on sustainability with the public. The EU always has been a kind of leader in this sector, and it's certainly increasing the pressure on everyone there. For ourselves, one of the things that we look at is that this definition of green, it's got to be robust, it's got to be measurable, and it's got to be disclosed. So when we're looking at financing projects, those are kind of the three elements that we look at, and more we're seeing this also not just from public institutions like ourselves, but also from the commercial banking sector. We work very closely on a number of projects with institutions such as Barclays, even some of the North American institutions such as Citibank. They're very, very clear on their focus on this and on their requirements. So finally, what does the financial sector itself, how is it developing? It's developing in a number of ways, and some of those will be applicable to larger companies, and some of them will be applicable to smaller companies. But there is a common theme. Taking a look at some of the larger issues first. These are publicly traded instruments, and it's various different types of debt instruments and bonds which can be traded in the market. I think one thing that may not be really too well understood for people outside of the financial sector is that when a company raises finance from a bank, almost instantaneously that bank is selling the debt onto someone else, who will then sell it onto someone else, and there's like a kind of a tumbling effect. And there has to be a common understanding within that financial world so that that risk can be spread through the area. So over the last few years, a lot more finance is being put through what are called green bonds. And there's been a requirement to have a common understanding of what that means. Now, as you'd expect, as always happens when something new arises, there are 20 different types of codes springing up everywhere, all competing to be the most internationally renowned. So numerous codes are out there. The ones that we probably most commonly work with is what's called ICMA, it's the International Capital Markets Association. That is a pretty decent rule book for defining what is green in terms of finance. What must the client do to be able to demonstrate that the project is green? We also rely a lot on what is called second party opinions. This is an independent review of the bond, which is able to demonstrate to the public and the markets that that system is robust, it's measurable, and it's also reported. As I said, those sort of green bonds are more typical for the larger companies, but a lot of the demand is being driven by SMEs and smaller projects. And here there's a slightly different picture. Sustainability-linked loans is, again, not the only, but probably the most common feature here. And these are bespoke solutions, and they're either bespoke for the specific aspects of a small or medium-sized project, or for a small or medium-sized company. Here, the common rulebook really doesn't apply because each case is slightly different. So one of the features that's structured here is that you have key performance indicators which are generated for each of these loans. And those have to be publicly disclosed as well. Sometimes these loans can be publicly traded. Sometimes they're private placements and must retain in place, but all of them will have these key performance indicators. And the final step in this slide is one of the drivers that we have to make sure that's done. Because there is a kind of school of thought out there that says, well, the finance industry is all very good and very experienced at putting out a message. How does it actually deliver? Well, we try and deliver through what we call our step-ups. I don't know how many of you would have come across a structure like this, but it's becoming more and more common, certainly in what we do. Put roughly, the amount you pay us back in interest is directly related to your environmental and social performance. So the better a project performs in terms of reductions in greenhouse gas emissions, or in better outcomes when it comes to, for example, the treatment processes, if fewer infections, the better you do, the lower the interest rate is. So there is actually now a mechanism whereby we put a financial incentive onto the client to perform better so that they actually end up paying us less money. There's a counter to that, because obviously if they perform below target, then they will pay us back more money. So it's a kind of carrot and stick approach. So that's a very brief run through the way that the financial markets are looking at this. So if you've got any questions, I'd be happy to respond. But thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, David. As we discussed before with the Swedish Energy Agency, one of the things we're working on is that Sweden is quite ahead of this, together with a few other countries. It's in the Nordics and in the Netherlands. And there are, numbers to prove that the energy consumption and the climate impact on the hospital and so on. So what would be your advice on how to go about this, putting this in an international context? What would be the key things that we should look at?
Look, to me, transparency is the key. I think globally, the world would expect the Nordics and countries like the Netherlands to be performing well in this sphere. But as I say, this drive for transparency and for public disclosure of information A lot of it coming from the EU, and a lot of it coming from the EU because it's been triggered from countries like Nordic countries and Netherlands. That sends a message out to the markets so that they can benchmark, because one of the things which we do is that if we have multiple requests for financial support coming in, we will benchmark companies and we will benchmark territories against each other, because one of the things we wanted to do is to protect our reputation as well. So we want to go with trusted partners. And if that information is out there and can be independently verified, that enables us to identify those trusted partners much more quickly and kind of embed the relationships that we need to have.
Yes, and that is one of the things we're trying to do with the Nordic Know-How series, to put that information out there in English, not in Finnish and Swedish and Norwegian. And that's been one of the tricky parts, actually, that a lot of this has been only available in domestic languages here up in the north. But thank you very much, and I hope to see you in London the 14th. I will send you an invitation to the Swedish Embassy the 14th of June, where we have the Swedish UK gathering on sustainability in healthcare.
I look forward to it, Daniel. I'll see you there.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Karin from Belok, who will give us a presentation on how the total concept method and how to actually make some calculations on the financial side of this. Welcome, Karin.
Thank you very much. And as Daniel said, I'm from Belok, and you heard a little bit about it from Mikael before, but I will tell you a little bit more. But as we know, there is a need to improve the energy efficiency at existing hospitals, not just building smart when we construct new buildings. And one way for this is the total concept. For you who attended the last presentation in the Nordic Know-How series, have seen some of these pictures, or maybe if you have met us in Poland or Italy, we have been talking about this. And I should just, so many building owners face the dilemma of needing to improve their buildings' energy efficiency while still live up to different financial goals. And one way to address this is via the total concept method, or as we say in Swedish, totalmetodiken. The total concept is a method and financing tool designed to improve energy efficiency or energy performance in existing non-residential buildings, aiming to ensure maximum energy savings while still fulfilling the company's demands for profitability. So we want to do as much as possible, but still fulfill what the founders or the economical department or so say that we must do. So the method has been developed by the network of non-residential real estate owners in Sweden called Belok. And the pictures you saw earlier was a little bit dated because the collaboration now has over 30 members and represent roughly 1/3 of the surface area, floor area of non-residential buildings in Sweden. And this network do exactly what we heard in the last presentation. They are transparent with each other. They share their knowledge, they share their information with each other and develop the best methods for improving. And then they take that knowledge and share it with others. And they have developed this methodology. So it comes from real companies with real profit targets on their heads. And the network has both public owns and privately owns real estate owners. And I could say that the most owners that has hospitals, they are publicly owned, but some of the private real estate owners has different other kinds of care facilities, like dentists and smaller doctor stations and so on. But back to the total concept. If we should answer the question, what is it in a short way? It is a method for identifying and carrying out a package of measures while still fulfilling building owners' demands of profitability. And the keyword here is package. For instead of focusing on individual measures, the method applies a comprehensive approach to the work with energy in buildings. And through identifying and carrying out a lot of measures together as a package, you can achieve a larger energy efficiency, but still fulfill the profitable targets. So how do we do this? Well, the method has 3 steps, and the first step is the most important one. In step 1, we will look at the building, find things to do, and create an action pack. And we will look at a broad range of different energy measures if we should do it as the method tells you to. Not looking only on the things we usually do in our buildings, but have the broad picture in your view. And then we evaluate every measure, including calculation for the saving potentials, but also the life cycle costs. Then in step 2, we take the measures that we put into the package and do them, and then we follow up. I will look into a little bit more in detail what we actually do in these steps. So in the first step, we start with gather the basic information. What do we need to know about the building? And then we do some kind of energy audit. We look at the need for maybe repairs and how the energy performance is. And then we find the measures we want to do, and then we calculate the investment costs for doing those measures. And also identifying what we can save from doing these measures. What can we save? Yeah, we do the energy calculations to find how much energy we can save. But maybe we could save something else. Is it a lesser need for maintenance with the new solution? Then we should put in that in our calculations. Is it providing a better and working environment? That should go into the calculations, but it could be a little bit hard to put an economical value in it, but we could at least put it in our memory. And when we do this separate calculation, we do the overall profit calculation and create the action pack. And then we write a good report so that the people that will take the decision of doing the action pack have everything on the table. It's clear what we want to do and that it is profitable. The economical evaluation is preferably done by using life cycle costs. The method that we think is the best is to use the internal rate of return, because it could be could be shown in a diagram like this. And here you take your measures and find the most profitable one, and you plot it in a diagram like this, and then you continue with every measure you have found, and then you have a package, and then you can compare the result of your package, the internal rate of return, with your profitability demands. And if you will end up with a higher internal rate of return than your profitability demand, then you have a solid package that is profitable to do. If the last measure here would have been on the wrong side of the dotted line, yeah, then you have to remove it from the package. Or maybe go back and see if we have been doing the right calculations. Have we estimated something wrong? Can we still have it in our package? If you are not used to working with the internal rate of return, you can do the same thing by calculating the net present value, but then you can't show it this easy in a graph. And if the most economical people working with economics I have met, they like percentage. They have a investment marginal, they have a profit marginal, and so they like these kinds of numbers. Working with the internal rate of return can be a bit hard. So Belok has also developed a tool called the Total Tool that will help you with doing just this. You take the message you had identified and you put in information about how much energy it saves, other costs it saves, how much the investment cost is. And then it will generate a nice graph for you and also some diagrams on how much energy you save that you could put into your report. And like this will the diagram come out. So why do the building owners in Sweden think you should use this method? Well, by using it, you can improve the building functionality by identifying what we can do in the building and ensure that we have a building that operates at its best. It is easier to motivate large energy investments if it's proven that they are within the economical frames. The best for the society and the environment is to have as low energy demand as possible. And here we can go as far as we can go as, we could do it the most of what we have. So if we have this budget, how much can we do? It's based on a fairly easy, understandable economical model. Maybe not at first glance, but if you start working with it, or if you are already working with finance. And it clearly shows that investment potential. I switched the row up there. And the result can be trusted if you use good data for your calculations. If you do the work of investigating and doing your calculation correctly, the result is trustworthy. And as a proof, it has been used by different care facilities in Sweden and also some other Nordic countries. Unfortunately, most of the reports from their projects are in Swedish, but the last one, the Olof Central Healthcare Station in Finland, actually has a report in English that you can read and take inspiration of their results. And where do you find this? Well, the information is available in a lot of Nordic language and in Norwegian, in English. And via the totalconcept.se webpage, you find this information. And there you also find the report from the Finnish healthcare station. And if you speak Swedish, you can find even more information going to Belok's homepage. This was what I was going to show today, because if we want to go in depth in the methodology, we will need a lot more than 15 minutes. But if you want to know more, at totalconcept.se, you can find the manual for the total concept method in English, where you can find anything you need to know. So that was all for me.
Thank you very much. And first, I will say that the Total Tool is a brilliant name. I won't want that for a lot of applications, the Total Tool. Second, I've heard this a couple of times, and this sounds brilliant for me as a little bit of an amateur when it comes to calculating economics in these terms. Why is it everyone using? What are the obstacles, so to say, you need to pass through? Is it the same as always, the old men that don't want to change, they want to do the same thing they have done forever? Or what are the
I think
all of Europe should do this?
I think the methodology could be a little bit overwhelming when you start. I mean, it states that you need to do a very thorough examination of your building and take a lot of information in, and then you have to find a large package, and then you have to do it. But you don't have to look on it like it's a big complex. Some of the counties in Sweden actually work with this method a lot. And they have moved it from being something you do for a single project and put it into their normal budget for working with energy. So if we save energy here in one project, we can take it into a big bag of money and have them in another project. So I mean, you can start a circulation of money dedicated to energy savings. That's one way. You can remember the most important things of the methodology is to do more than one thing. If we do need to do something, could we do something more? Could we need to do some maintenance that is not connected to energy? Could we put something that is related to energy efficiency on that measure? But I think that the main reason that not more people are working with it is resources, time. You don't have time. You are so busy doing your regular maintenance, your regular daily work, so you don't have time for starting with this too. So you need that support from management or employees.
Yeah, and hopefully there will be time, because to me this sounds a brilliant way to work with this and to get the overview on how to work with it. Thank you very much, Karin, and I will end the recordings now.